We're gonna go into... Oh, this sounds kind of loud, doesn't it? Let's go into the game as Cassio. Nice to be able to jump ahead and have that luxury as easily.
Utility, it's a mix of fleet of foot.
See you setting up the defense tree a bit more. That's fine, that's fine. Once again, I really like these two masteries in conjunction with another. We're going to find out you're going to pick Cassio. And at this time, they have a diver, some shit damage, and a Tryndamere. We have a potential split push top. Cassio's a fine pick here. Their sustained damage isn't that high outside of Tryndamere. Graves does deal a decent amount mid-game, but nothing that Callista can't keep up with. And Callista will eventually outscale. As for their front line, Vi will do a decent amount of damage jumping onto you, but your ultimate plus your Twin Fang should heal it up fine. And Alistar is just waiting to be kited all day by you. They don't really have... Outside of the Vi ult, they don't have enough ways of locking you down long enough to be bursted out, although they haven't picked their mid yet. It becomes a bit scarier if they pick someone like... Well, Zed here wouldn't work. Someone maybe like Ziggs here, or potentially even someone like LeBlanc. Really punish your skill shot usage. Ahri kinda works. It's going to be hard for her to get through Zac, Riven, and Kennen in teamfights to land a proper charm on you to burst you out. As we'll see as we go into the game. The Ahri matchup. Okay. So Ahri's laning phase isn't very strong pre-6. Her strength really comes in once the damage amplification on her charm starts kicking. She has a decent enough time sustaining herself, however, thanks to her passive. So all-inning her probably doesn't work out too well, because she should be sitting at relatively high health so long as she has mana for it. And she's not super mana gated. Neither are you. It's going to be kind of a front fest. She has some pick potential on you, while you have some high harass potential thanks to Q and then double twin fanging her out of the lane. Testing her sustain as much as possible. Okay. So it seems we're going with scaling blues this time around. Let's double check that. Match history. And on you, I see scaling blues, which is acceptable. Confirm. Oh, I did like that. Cassio. Scaling blues. Okay. We went 21-9, that's fine. We have to realize that early in the game we're susceptible to auto attack damage since our low base armor. And potentially Vikings. They're all coming bottom.
I believe in you. I trust you.
Discussions here. See the move up in lane when we want to drop that ward, that's fine.
Oh, Kyle. Kyle. Oh, God, you crazy motherfucker.
That was crazy on their part.
Any additional seconds of get the stacking is fantastic for us.
Wait, who's the...
Back.
Turn this down.
You're trying to solo a camp. Starting E.
Oh wait, I can hear it, but perhaps the stream can't as easily.
Okay.
Come in with some stacks. Stacks on stacks.
What?
Stacks are so good. Once we hit our first breakpoint, our E becomes
Okay.
our sustain, as you are well aware. Let's get to the start of this laning phase. Can't seem to click.
Four. And the sedge wounds are...
Our laning phase, we noticed that they were starting blue side. Around the 3-minute mark, we gotta watch out for the top of the lane.
Hearth and go Hearth, yeah.
Lane looks relatively even. If you want to try to get the level 2, you have to start pushing.
Red.
Missing Qs isn't good. Early in the lane like this, if you can, you want to hit her and the creeps in order to achieve the level 2 a bit faster. You do have to be careful not hitting the creeps too much, particularly later on when you're not interested in a level 2 or level 6 jump. And that's because you'll end up pushing the lane a bit too much. See, that's the sort of Q I'm talking about. You could hit her and this creep instead of just the middle creep. Using spells for CS, you don't really want to do it unless you're like Arthas and you have to. Seems like we are trying to get the level 2 spike, but we end up walking in range of her while trying to CS. This is not good. So right now, this creep is dying. We're threatening to defend this creep, but this creep isn't in nearly as much danger as this. So by walking over to her side of the lane as this creep is dying, we end up opening ourselves an opportunity to get harassed. So as soon as we go for the auto here, she's free to Q us here, and she does. Knowing this, after you send the auto out, and unfortunately I'm missing this, you have to Q her. Instead we don't. Instead we harass for free. We end up returning a nice Q. We might have been able to get even a second one off had we done it sooner. But all in all, not big of a deal. We hit level 2 at the same time, pretty much. One thing I am noticing is that kind of staying out of range of her to come into Q range. Out of Q range, out of Q range, out of Q range. We step up, try for a Q, and then back off. Now, while this does leave you very safe, what it doesn't do is make you very unpredictable. So your Qs, she knows when your Q's off cooldown because you start to remain in her range. And more. Well, that's not a big of a deal. It means that when you come up, she knows you're going to attempt a Q. What you can also try to do is just try to hold your Q for a little bit while it's up and threaten it. Force her to try to dodge a potential Q. Right now she has a level on you. Now with your Q down for the next few seconds she can threaten. Max E. Good, good. You should let them know that she's probably warding on this side. You should be careful similarly about something maybe top side. Although his buff is down, so he doesn't necessarily need to be there. Oh look, Fi's top side. Okay. Nice, nice, nice. We decided to queue the backline instead of getting a minion here. Minor. But still something to pick up on. Walk in range to hit to get charmed for not much reason. Big a deal. Our early game CS is really poor before we have enough mana for all the spells. This lane isn't pushed out, we're going to miss a decent amount of CS for this. The blue will make up for it though. Keep in mind though, we came into the lane with 20 stacks, 21 stacks. Maybe even 22 before the CSing started. We have so far not acquired a lot of stacks. In addition to the farm, the minigame here is getting as many stacks as possible. The sooner you hit your breakpoints, the better, and the stronger you become. So that's really what we want to look for. We really don't need to queue to push the wave anymore. We consider it a level 2 because it's really good there. As soon as you land that, see if you can set up an E instead of just backing up. You should outtrade her heavily in this stage of the game. Oh, and you E'd without the poison still being on. We don't really need to queue to lane control when it's sort of even like this. Actually, kind of now you do, yeah. So it doesn't push into your tower. But in general, you only really want to push for lane control when you need to thin out the wave. Like you kind of needed to do there a little bit better. And when you're getting your level 2 and your level 6 spikes, you can use your E to last hit. It has a relatively low cooldown. So if your auto doesn't make it, you can send it in conjunction with an E. You'll just have to know that your E will be off cooldown. Yeah, there's some CS here because we're hesitating to use our E as an additional last hitting rule. Or tool, not rule. Yeah, we're going to be pushed up a little bit. We ended up warding bottom to suspect her roam. So, since we have a ward bottom, what we'd like to do is hug that side of the lane instead of being up here near top side. Kind of doing that, we end up eating some harass for it. Trying to trade back. You could definitely gotten off another E there to harass. Playing a little safe though. She still doesn't have kill pressure on you. And if she goes all in, she had to take all of this. So that second E would have been relatively safe.
How's the ward down bottom?
Once again, we don't want to be anywhere near this top side. We want to be down here. Not only do we have that side warded, so we can react better. Like, if this guy comes out of this bush, Ari is low, and you can perhaps turn it with the amount of summoners and spells you have available, but there's no reason even to be on this side. Try to hug down here.
God damn it. Oh, Chris, no.
Now you're unwarded. Vi ends up coming just as our ward drops. It's a little dangerous. We might have been able to 2v1. Actually, drop your W down. While continuing to walk back. She's only level 4. Outside of her Q, she doesn't do a lot. Remember, when you have them poisoned under your Q, you gain passive movement speed. And once you reach this 100 threshold, we gain health back per hit. Now we're sitting here at about half. We just blew our flash, but another wave's coming in. And we hit our threshold for sustain. We have a decent amount of pull. I don't know if we need to go back yet. We're going to go back yet, though. Vi went towards top side, blowing our flash at level 4 by herself. It's not good. Okay, we're gonna have to play a little bit more passively. We don't end up getting our trinket out, just swapping our trinket out. That's fine, I guess. A little added protection for you right in the meantime. Ari should be starting to look to roam. Particularly if she's going to have any chance of influencing bottom, she needs to do that now. Or Kennen becomes ungankable. It's Kennen Callista lane.
Where do you want me to go?
Anything but poachers.
Last hit with the E, no. Oh, we tried it once. It was the first time I think we cast the E to try the last hit.
Even skirmishers. I mean, it's not great, but
Okay, there is a danger with warding here in this bush. When you're about to ward here, and this ward serves no purpose. So let's back up and discuss this ward up top first.
even skirmishers.
So, by warding here, it's not bad against Vi because it prevents her from like vaulting over the wall here, coming into this bush sight unseen. But she can still hug this wall by Baron into the dot bush and make it a way back into this corridor. Still leaves you a little bit dangerous. I would have liked to see perhaps a drop over this wall into this passageway, which covers most of her routes pretty well. Particularly on this ramp, we'll cover some of this river so she can't just go over Baron wall here. While also getting her this way. So there are still gank paths here. We have a ward here just over this wall and one over here at blue. This ward does nothing. There's one path she can take to get to here that these wards don't cover, and that's down over to here, and like vault over this wall. And that's just not a reasonable path to take, right? This trinket ward just doesn't serve a purpose. I don't think it'll come to play. Laner's missing, shove the lane.
Poachers is
Use your E to last hit the wave faster. Wow, we don't get any of that, do we? Let's count how many of this 5 that we get solo.
How we going for blood?
We have 35 CS. 1.
Poacher's is actually pretty useless.
We get 2 of those 5. While not. We didn't use our E at all there, and we weren't under any pressure, and we still somehow failed to last hit
I'm trying
more than half the wave. That's not good, Doug. Come on, man. Don't need to walk up that far to cue something. Vi's still here in the bottom.
She's,
Notice her.
Yeah, I'm getting out.
I'm gonna ward here. In case she can spot.
I grabbed it.
Our stack,
Blinded.
our stacks aren't going so hot so far. I have to be careful walking here. Oh, just eat her, just fight her.
Oh, you're low. Never mind.
We really, once we're chunked out like this, we really want to use our E to sustain back up. Especially once we've hit our first threshold. Instead, we end up using a potion for some reason. We don't really need that.
I do have all.
We could have done a better job protecting this since we saw Vi last bottom side. Memory serves. Okay, there's Vi, she's bottom. This whole thing. We can't come in range to defend this pink.
Oh, you're low. Never mind.
We're winning this 1v1, and it's not close, thanks so long as we land poison. So there's no reason to give up this pink for free. It's a simple 1v1. We know where everyone is on the map. We just lose our ward for free. Charm's down, we can be way more aggressive. The speed boost is making it difficult. We don't use our E at all in this lane. This is not very good.
I have a little trouble.
Okay, so we've touched on laning a bit.
But I would like to try to.
I don't have that much time before I have to head out. See if we can get to a proper team fight.
I'm coming into.
We still haven't done much in the way of stacks. That's really aggressive. Okay. Redouble. Nice.
Oh god, that was so wonderful.
Okay. They didn't come onto you, so your actions weren't really dictated by very much.
Oh,
Other than
god, that
getting a bunch of damage out.
I'm coming into.
You could have reacted better to her coming in by sweeping up this way, so you have less distance to travel. Toss our W down here. Get some ease off, ease off, ease off. Nice. All in all, pretty well done, except
Oh god.
the one thing I would comment is what I mentioned earlier, is kiting back up this way when you see the Riven come in to bait them in.
You know what?
You only get that ward at some point.
I can take it.
Use your E to quickly push out this wave.
Take it.
We're still missing a bunch of CS under no pressure, which isn't good, obviously. Okay, we get the back here now. Sweet. Sweet.
Yeah, sounds good.
We have enough for a blessing one, or boots, and some
I'd be like wired.
consumables. Which do we want? That's fine. Maybe switch out our trinket at this point. Our trinket's not super useful. Even if we want to come back to the warding trinket later. If we want to get the warding trinket, we would have gotten it now. We have, we had enough gold for 2 wards and still had almost 200 left over. There's no reason not to get the warding trinket now if you wanted to. If you wanted to maintain vision, then just upgrade to the red. Switch over to the warding trinket later as your inventory fills out.
Winning by about a dozen cents.
Just let the poison take it. Sure. I might have, since we still have the warding trinket, I probably would have dropped that over the wall. I'd really try to force a trade right there, yeah. Especially in creeps where she can't harass us. If you got a second Q there, notice she'd be like closer to half health. We end up dodging into that. A little unfortunate. We really want to look... We are a huge bully at this point. She hasn't finished an item. Neither have us. Neither have we, but we have a huge spell rotation advantage over her. She only gets one rotation of spells. We get multiple casts of E if we land our Q. I think you need to be a little bit more binary in your decision making. We end up roaming topping and dying. We end up getting caught. Let's see if we need to discuss this. Solvi coming up from bottom. Perhaps in your CS you haven't necessarily noticed that. The whole map is kind of dark right now. Okay. So Dragon's not up. We know their blue's not up since the icon's not there. They either went topside, in which case this ward does nothing, or they're down in here invading and prepping bottom, in which case going down in here is dangerous. We don't want to do this. This cannot possibly work out for us. In fact, we confirm that they're down here. Even if we didn't see the Vi walk up here from the minimap, we noticed the Ahri's down here. And thank you, dog. You start contesting this. Now, 1v1, you 100% win this. You might even try to like ult flash here. But we wander way too close to this bush. We just die because of it. Oh, we could have turned this. Give me a sec. Please no. Okay. So let's watch this again. Based on where the map is and where everyone is, they have to be bottom side. That's fine. I don't like approaching this bush with Vi missing. We end up getting followed up upon here. We get our ult off. During the duration of the ult, we can absolutely kill Ahri here. And since Vi assumably still has her ult up, this flash doesn't do anything. Also, she has another thing. We end up trading with her anyway. But perhaps we get to trade with her while still dying and still having flash later. Picking up boots. It's fine. Our CS at 13 minutes isn't even 60. Really need to work on that.
Yeah.
It's back up and compared to everyone else in the game. Riven's certainly not doing well. Clissa's at 85, that's lower than you'd want. Trinimir's doing well, even has a few kills to show for it. You're behind the Ahri, who's died more than you. A little disappointing. You definitely could have shoved her out of lane much easier. Let's go for like an actual team fight. We got a bunch of rotational stuff we can discuss as a team or whatever. It seems like something happened here. Discuss this. Someone's poked out. Oh yeah. This is where I flash in. She's free. Okay. So we don't have flash up yet from our previous quandary down here. Get W off. We ult for some reason. We don't really need to do anything besides set up poison and E a bunch. If we still had our ult, it'd be fantastic coming in for this. So we're not kiting at all. We know people are coming in from bottom side. What we really want to do is kite this way, up where I'm going to. Instead, we just sit here in the same spot and wait to get comboed. Let's watch this again. She dies instantly. We have a little delayed reaction to this. We ult while she's facing the other way. We get the flash anyway. And we don't use the movement speed from our Q. We end up walking up in here, having real difficulty doing other stuff. Yeah. We want to play Cassio a little bit like Ezreal in that you really need to weave in and out of fights in between your E cooldowns. Instead of considering it as an auto attack or as a spell, Consider the E more of like your auto attack. And play like an AD carry, kiting them around. And this is where Kyle gets chunked up by Graves because he's not paying attention. Okay. So we need more mobility on our side during team fights, during proper fights. Let's find the next place you die. Here we go. Get the all-in someone. Like it? At least watch this. It's queued.
She's sweet.
Few people wandering around down there.
Swept. Happy.
She walks really close. She should die. We actually ult here. We don't need to ult here at all. She's under poison, she's under poison, she's under poison, she's under poison. You can just walk at her and E twice. And maybe ignite if you want. So the ult's a bit excessive.
Yeah, the Tryndamere on the side here, though.
We'd have the ult for this fight, and we'd be able to peel the Tryndamere off you a bit more. I remember this. I have to ult to save you, because you don't have it. And I think you end up dying anyway. We want to E as much as possible. We lose the poison, unfortunately. Oof. She doesn't have any gap closers right now. Outside of her Q, which she has to charge. We can actually kite this a bit. Once she used her ult, I don't think you have to back off immediately if you know Kyle has heal. But of course we don't, because we don't have good communication. But you can actually stay in this fight a bit longer. We want to have this health pot ticking. Start back from the beginning. We had 2 pots coming into this. As soon as the fight goes down, start ticking the health pot. It's a free, like, ruby crystal worth. It's a free 150 health over the duration. We know the Tryndamere's up here. We saw him on a ward. We're not respecting it. We really shouldn't even be contesting this. Instead we do this, and this is not very good. We only get 2 of like 3 E's off. We'd be up some health here. End up killing him. Okay. Her Q is down, her E's down. We might be able to step into this a little bit. But really, we can't because our health potion's not ticking. And we didn't have our ultimate for that fight. Because we used it gratuitously on the Ahri previously.
My ult was really not.
I don't even think we have to go back here. If we have enough mana, we can just E a bunch.
Far away, so I was out of smite range.
You keep forgetting how much this E heals
I jumped over too soon.
at this rate. I've shown you before, but just for completion's sake. It's not going to show in here, is it? No. Cassio. Cool. That's the one. Twin Fang now heals for ridiculous amount. No, I didn't want. Just want to know what this is exactly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, it's based on levels. And I don't know which level it is. But, how much AP do we have at this point? We have 353, so 10% of that. We'd heal for something like 35 each Q. Or each E, rather. That's fantastic.
I had a bit of a panic because when you guys started.
So in a full spell rotation, we heal for about 100. The fact that we're not doing that to sustain ourselves and top ourselves off, in conjunction with the pot, means that we're not as useful in fights for as long as we should be. Okay, we've gone back now. We still haven't upgraded this trinket. This trinket's not really serving much of a purpose.
Yep. Okay.
We're kind of free actually to continue shoving this once we see that they've backed off of this to get some more pressure on the Baron. We end up completing the Ludens here then. And not having much gold for much else. It's fine. Cannon teleports top to her demise. That's not fine. It goes. She should suicide here instead of what she's doing. Okay, we end up winning like a small skirmish here, if I remember correctly. You're not quite in the fight. Okay. So it seems like we're going to try to Q or W around here. That's fine. Ari here is flanking. Our best bet is to drop the W here to prevent her from getting in safely, otherwise you can E her down. Especially with the Tryndamere here as well. We respect their zone. And he didn't have poison on him when we eat him. That was really bad on you. Really, really, really bad on you. Great ult. We're eating targets that don't have poison on them. This guy did, Alistar didn't. Watch that again. Poisoned on, not poisoned. You're the wrong person, we'll end up contributing to their death. We're not looking to reset. And if we had poison on these two, we'd still have the movement speed buff and be able to get him. It doesn't seem like... Just E things down, E things down. Please E things down. You even get mana back, just E them. Please E them, god damn it. Oh man. You do not cast E enough in this. Spell's too good. We end up dying. Oh yeah, I'm like, hey, there's Tryndamere. We start running away. We could honestly run up here and recall instead of what we were about to do. We miss everything, and suddenly we can't fight him.
Well, you can't miss both of those.
That's unfortunate. If we would go on Hourglass, I think we'd be a bit safer against the Tryndamere. But Lunance isn't bad. I just really like Hourglass. I like the plays it lets you make. You could be way more aggressive in these team fights with Ludens. I didn't see when you used item here. I'll have to see that. So this team fight once more. Our target selection seems to be on the front line, that's fine, but Ari's kind of giving herself to us. Blah blah blah. We're not getting our E resets because we're doing things poorly. We also have like a great ult and back off. Yeah, our Seraph's Embrace didn't do anything this fight. Our shield, really. We'd be down a little bit more health, but we'd still have that shield up. It wasn't completely used up. You really want to use it to force them to overcommit a bit towards the end of the fight. Especially since you have that fantastic E healing you for almost 40. Did you see that? Almost 40 each hit. Once we finally use it. 52, 52, 39. Like, come on. Yeah, we died to Tryndamere. Guess we... In addition to missing both poisons, we don't have our skill up. They're not building... I would get... They're not building MR if I remember correctly. I would 100% get Hourglass and just win every fight ever. Catch someone out, they die. Got to keep our ult this time, yeah. CS numbers are really low. Go to another fight.
That's really bad.
Till we do something. It's a while, doesn't it? I'm gonna farming up Death Cap. Only got 30 CS during that whole time skip. We had 140 CS at 28 minutes. 6 minutes later, we only picked up 30 CS. That's not good. Let's try an actual fight. Come on. Our flash wasn't necessary. I think we know that. Pick up small kills here and there, but we haven't like had a proper fight. There's no need for us to WNQ. Unless we know one of them's going to miss.
Oh man.
Oh, I thought it was a suppression.
Assuming you can improve upon some of these other fights too, it's just not that big of a deal. A little too close to this for my comfort, but bitch gets caught out. How do we catch her?
Fell asleep. No.
Oh yeah, they just hang out in front of this turret for a while.
Come on here, mid.
Bot. It's pushing with way better.
Thank you! Jesus. Me. We can kite in here once again. Instead, we just kind of wait here for our Easter reset. There's a half a second cooldown still, even when we get the E reset. We want to be using that bit to reposition ourselves. We get the kill, of course. Because why wouldn't we? Alright, everyone's dead. We get to win this fight.
No.
Going a bit too close to him. Getting creep blocked. Never used our Seraphs.
There's no ult. There's no ult.
But that was the last fight. Pretty sure we just... We don't win off the back of this. God damn it. Can we have a full-scale team fight for once?
I get the barn.
We end up starting Baron.
He does that.
Or we can shove mid. Oh, what?
Alright, proper last team fight, even though we're super far ahead.
We just throw it to the top.
And Trinimir's not here.
Oh, we're going.
Callista gets to do whatever Callista wants at this point.
Oh, what? It's going away.
Yeah, okay. So let's go back to the match history.
That junior is mad.
Let's guess some things from there. Player builds. Would have liked the Hourglass sooner. Deathcap certainly helps your explosive power, but the only way they win fights at this point, since Trindamir's not being an effective split push, is that they dive you and can kill either you or Callista ASAP. Callista has a GA, that's not really going to happen. He also can... Kyle can also pull in me as Kennen whenever the hell he wants, and I'll set up my ult to properly peel for him. And you, but it would be much appreciated for you to go a little bit defensive. You deal so much damage at this point, the death cap doesn't matter so much. Although, it's still very nice. We saw a few fights there where we didn't use Seraph's Embrace as well as we could have. But most of the fights came down to we didn't land poison on someone we thought and ended up eating them, or we didn't position properly when we had E in between E resets, Twin Fang resets, to either maximize damage or keep us as safe as possible. A decent number of our deaths could have been avoided by moving in between the E casts or having the proper DPS up by not missing the poison. There were a couple times where we had like poor fight flow. I don't know how you want to call it, but it was the one time where specifically you guys are fighting here at their second tier, and Ari's like trying to flank here, and instead of zoning her out, you just lay down poison behind Alistar for some reason. Where if you do it on her and Tryndamere ends up coming from the same direction, those two immediately get twin fanged out of the fight. Instead, we shove it behind Alistar, which keeps Graves at bay a little bit, but he gets to play around a lot more than the two people in the choke point who have to come over a wall. He can like walk around it because he still has room there in front of tower, and he doesn't really need to come forward in the fight ever because he's not he's not an I'm not going to call her an assassin. He's not a short range mage like Ari, and he's not a backline diver like Tryndamere. So things to work on. use your E and use it often. You get mana back with it. You get heal back with it. And by heal, I mean you get health back with it. In fact, you can actually gain mana by using her Twin Fang. So please do that. Also, it makes the poison land more. It's very, very important that you chain these first two skills with Twin Fang. And you keep stacking them, and you deal infinite fucking damage. Additionally, don't forget about this. This is so core to her kit, and it lets her be that short-range mage DPS machine. You kind of sustain tank through fights a lot of the time. Sometimes you get a good ult off and stun a few people, and suddenly their DPS is down, and you get to heal right back up. This is why I really like X-Tech Revolver and Woda on her, because the amount of spell vamp she gets in addition to this is incredible. Your build's fine this game. I personally don't like Ludens so much on her. She does get a lot of cast off, and the movement speed isn't wasted necessarily. I just really like Ludens more on like poke champions, because I really value Hourglass and I really value Deathcap. So you'll rarely see me rush Ludens. Instead, I would have replaced this with Void Staff, even though they don't have as much MR. They have to build it or they lose. Or in this case, maybe against a team with more MR, it would definitely be Void Staff for me, and then Woda. Especially with the cannon on my team. Maybe the cannon can pick it up. So yeah, kite better. Kite. Obviously, if you can practice Cassio and kite that way, that's fantastic. Work on your laning phase, work on the last hitting. Make sure you get that CS, and make sure you're maintaining the creep wave where you want it, with proper cues. Either hitting the wave to prevent it from all pushing in your tower and making it hard for you to last hit, which you can use your E to last hit. You just have to accept a 4-second cooldown on it. 5 seconds. Oh man, a full 5 seconds. Plus CDR. So yeah, that shit can be down real fast. Her cooldowns are actually ridiculous. 4, 10, 5, minute and a half, 2 minutes. Yeah, cooldown reduction's nuts on her. She gets it from her passive though, and from masteries. So kite and fights, last hit better. Look for CS in every opportunity, and if you land poisonous on them, by God, in lane, just trade with them.
85% of people who travel?
You out-damage everyone. That's why I don't like leaving that tab open, because you just get ads playing. You out-damage pretty much everyone in the early game outside of maybe LeBlanc, or people who are able to all-in you properly. Early game Ahri does not do that before she finishes an item. And that item probably has to be the Abyssal, honestly. She'll need something that's a bit defensive and offensive at the same time. Cassio's really scary when you have poison on people. That's why she's a really competitive pick when you pick these tanky-ish bot lanes that don't have a lot of DPS, unlike Callista, like an Urgot maybe, or a Corki. When you really need a supplemental damage source, they go to Cassiopeia because she deals so much damage. Alright? So those are things to work on. We don't actually have objective overbill. We discussed this. This is good. This is much better than it was when you were maxing Noxious Blast. I like the runes better. Ability power per level's good on her because of the way it scales with her and her passives. CDR wouldn't be the worst, although you have to admit that you get some for free. This is preference. 21.9's fine, 21.09 is fine, matchup dependent. Double-edged sword, I don't really feel is necessary. Spellblade, Arcane Blade is certainly not necessary on Cassio. There are some champions it is. Instead, like I said, I'd get these two. Just help me stay in lane forever. 3 health and 1 mana every time you kill something. That's just too good in my eyes. Alright. So, let's show some improvement.